That's it. That's the chill music, y'all, ladies and gentlemen. All right, hashtag Nation, what's up? Welcome to the hashtag Sports presentation of the Buffalo Bills versus the New York Jets post game in association with DeanBlundell.com and sponsored by Mr. Rogers Homes. Both are in the description of this video, as is all of our social links: TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. All of our episodes are available on iTunes and Spotify upon completion. A little bit of a rough one today. We're going to get into it. We're going to get into a lot of stuff. As you can see, Paul is not with me today. He got caught up. He has some issues to take care of. So you get me tonight. So first things first, out of the gate, ladies and gentlemen, Buffalo Bills still atop the AFC East with a 6-2 record, followed by the Jets and Dolphins, both at 6-3, and the New England Patriots at 5-4. But more importantly, the Buffalo Bills dropped their second conference game and second divisional game of the year, which is going to be a very tough road ahead. Obviously, you guys have seen the schedule. Near the end of the year, the Buffalo Bills are going to be playing a lot of divisional games back to back. So it's going to be very, very tough for them. We're going to go over some things tonight, maybe things that have to be fixed, things that have to go into account, maybe for this year and next year. So Bills haven't been executing in the last 6 quarters they played. It feels bad. There is a little bit of a feeling, there's a vibe going on, and hopefully I could try to explain this for you guys, and hopefully you can get why this is important. There are certain aspects of the game that go into play. First of all, you're going to have your script. Teams always come in with a script. They're going to have that script. And then at halftime, you start making adjustments for what the team is doing to you and maybe counter moves that go on with that. So that being said, the script coming into the game seemed to be very good. The Buffalo Bills seemed to move the ball well. They got some fortunate bounces here and there, and they went up 14-3. And everyone thought it was going to be a rout after that. However, after that, after halftime, both of this week and the Green Bay game was not too favorable for the Buffalo Bills. Now, this is probably where a seasoned play caller. Now, listen. I'm not putting this all on Dorsey, but what I'm saying is a seasoned play caller can mix up things that are going on within the aspect of the game. It just seems like the Buffalo Bills last week and this week coming out in the second half were just flat. Now, they had a nice cushion last week, but this week, not so much. And it was very, very tough to watch that today. Daylight savings time just messing with people. Thank you, Joe. Joe with the call. All right, let's check out this one. Steve Hampton coming in and said, what was Frazier thinking with his scheme? Wilson has a QBR of like 7 when pressured, yet we rarely blitzed and acted like he didn't know they would throw screens on every other play. I would like to think that the absence of Matt Milano and the absence of Jordan Poyer kind of tied Leslie Frazier's hands a little bit in what he could do defensively with this team. I'm not going to say that was the sole reason, but maybe he saw something in the defensive scheme that he couldn't pull certain things off without Milano and Poyer in there. I'm going to get into that a little bit as well later with the loss of Milano not playing in this game, especially against the very run-heavy Jets. Obviously, I think that's one of the things that cost the Buffalo Bills this game, along with playing really poorly on the offensive side of the ball. Not enough tight end use. Needed more pressure on our D-line too. Allen and Davis were both bad. They were. What's going on with Allen throwing these INTs right to the defender? Yeah, he's got 4 in the past 2 games that were just ugly. And it's not like he's trying to thread the needle or anything else like that. He's literally throwing it right to the defender. I don't know what he's doing. I wish I could surmise something that I know from being a quarterback in the past. He is playing straight like 2018, 2019 Josh Allen with some of them throws. And I don't know what to tell you, because the Josh Allen that we saw at the beginning of the season and the Josh Allen we've seen in the past 2 weeks, I don't even know if they're the same person. I think Halloween, something happened with him. Something happened with Halloween with Allen. Okay, being up 14-3 defense, couldn't get a stop. No, it was tough. It was very tough. Just to give you guys a heads up, on Twitter, what we posted earlier today, I told you guys we were going to start doing this. I posted a couple tweets during the game. Give me a second and I will share my screen with y'all. Hopefully you guys will be able to see it. Make sure you leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you guys like the content. Entire screen, Chrome tab. Okay, I want to share this right here. All right, let me throw this on the screen for y'all. Okay, so these are some of the things that we were going to be doing and talking about in this post game, as I tweeted out a little bit earlier. Secondary communication: Edmonds without Milano, Hines' role in this offense, Teron Johnson being an unsung star of this defense, Diggs moving around, and Jets defensive pressure. I believe that we caught all of those. I think all of those were answered by the game today, and we're going to have a little bit of discussion about that. As far as they played in the trenches, they played in coverage, they executed long time consuming drives. They did. It seems like the guys up front wanted it more, and it was upsetting to see. The Buffalo Bills came in and I think they thought this was going to be a walkthrough, unfortunately, and the New York Jets came to play. The New York Jets came fired up. The New York Jets came in and wanted this game a little bit more than the Buffalo Bills did. And that's what I think was the problem. Jaquan Johnson was making me mad trying to arm tackle. He was taking some awful angles. I'm not going to lie at all. He was taking some awful angles to the ball carrier. And I don't think he understood the overall speed of the New York Jet running backs in that. It was very tough. It was very tough for that he had tackling issues. So it seems nobody was on the same page. We'll learn from it. I mean, you got to think about it this way, guys, if we're talking about this in the realistic sense. The Buffalo Bills played a horrible game today. Josh Allen was not himself. The offense seemed like he was trying to force the ball to Diggs a little too much. And in doing so, I mean, Stephon Diggs had 5 catches, but he had 10 targets. In doing so, he didn't spread the ball around to any other players that may or may not have been open. Now, I know that this last one right here, the Jets defensive pressure, that was a big deal. That was a big deal for them. They did get some pressure on Allen. They did close down the running lanes. And in looking at all of that was going on, Allen just really had nowhere else to go with the ball, and he forced some really, really bad throws. That all being said, still lost by 3 points. I mean, as badly as the Buffalo Bills played today, they still only lost by 3 points. Now, we're gonna go through each of these topics individually, and I'll post them up for you guys. So let me just hide this for everyone. Come on in. So the first thing I want to talk about is this. Okay, I'm gonna put this up for everybody. It was a good game nonetheless. I just think, the Bills really didn't deserve to win that game. I'm sorry, the Bills didn't deserve to win that game. They were playing passive. They were playing like that was a walkthrough or a scrimmage, and that's the upsetting thing because I believe they're a much better team than the Jets, but they just didn't play it very, very well today. All right, Edmonds without Milano. I look at the stat sheet. Edmonds had 11 tackles. And I saw him making a lot of tackles past the line of scrimmage. I saw him getting caught up in the wash today. Bernard had 7 tackles, but he didn't make really that huge of an impact. Edmonds dropped an INT right out of his hand. No, I mean, I really think he picked that off. I really think that was an interception. When they both went to the ground, Moody. Do you recognize my name? Moody. I do. Okay. So that being said, the combination of Jaquan Johnson and Damir Hamlin had 22 tackles. Okay, just to put that in reference, the New York Jets ran 61 offensive plays today. 61 offensive plays. Your 2 safeties had 22 tackles. And your 2 linebackers had 17 tackles. For those of you that are waiting for the punchline, there is none. You know what? It's that's not how it's supposed to be. That means that they're getting past the second level and they're getting to the third level, and that's not good. Dane Jackson had a few tackles today, and so did Elam and a couple other guys. But it was upsetting to me to see all that happening because everyone has been very very high on Tremaine Edmonds this year, and I'm very saddened to say that the play of Matt Milano has made the extending of Edmonds very very difficult for the Buffalo Bills for next year. I'm just going to put that out there on the table. I'm not trying to make enemies. However, as good as Edmonds is, and as some of the plays that he's able to make, he is going to be worth $100 million. And the Buffalo Bills don't have that money, nor should they pay that much for Tremaine Edmonds. Like I said, I'm not trying to upset anybody, but I mean, just putting it out there on the table. That's not the Buffalo Bills are not going to be paying Tremaine Edmonds that much money, and I unfortunately think that due to the play of Milano, Tremaine Edmonds, that's making him further away from being a Buffalo Bill for the foreseeable future. So, yes, Paul Berg, Milano was a huge miss today, guys. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you hit that like button before you guys decide to head out. All right, so the next thing that we're going to be discussing. Let's talk about the secondary, guys. Let's talk about this because we got to go over it. It's got to be talked about because we're starting to talk about the Buffalo Bills, and you see Poyer's inactive, you see Milano's inactive, you see Tre'Davious White's inactive, and everyone else is going, it's the Jets, guys. It's the Jets. Buffalo Bills will be fine. I think today showed you that they're not fine if you take so many pieces away. Now, if we tried to look at this Buffalo Bills team coming into today, I think the defensive line did pretty well with the exception of some things against the run. Against the pass, I think they did fairly well. But if you look at it, you started the season with Jordan Poyer and Micah Hyde. You have Tre'Davious White, who's going to be coming back very soon, but he was not there. You got a rookie corner, Dane Jackson, who got hurt and left for a couple weeks. Then you had Micah Hyde left, got hurt. Poyer's been in and out. Now Milano was out with Poyer. Now you can't have that happen. Milano and Poyer are probably your two best run defending tacklers on this team. And you're playing a team that's going to run the ball a lot. This is not good. And interestingly enough, the two games that Jordan Poyer missed were both divisional games. Those are usually the games you want to show up for. Not the games where you're playing up against an NFC opponent in Green Bay. It's just upsetting to me because you know what? With Poyer and Milano in that game, I don't think it changes the outcome, guys. I think they may have a couple more stops here and there, but you look at it, the Jets ran the ball. The Jets ran 31 offensive plays. They had 310 total yards, 9 drives. Their quarterback was 18 of 25 for less than 150 yards, like 151 yards. 154, that's what it was. 18 for 25 for 154. How bad did the secondary play in there? Really? And the Buffalo Bills had 9 drives and the Jets had 9 drives, and the Buffalo Bills gave them 2 extra drives. It's just this offense is not playing very, very well right now. What's wrong with the timeout? Spin, what are you referring to, bud? Talk to me, Goose. What's wrong with the timeout? You talking about near the end of the game where they had that goal line stand like after the 2-minute warning? Or was that the 20-minute one that they had because the camera broke? The camera that was on the line. Frazier's scheme is great when we were up early and teams have to throw. I think he has a good scheme. I think he has a good scheme overall to stop the run and the pass. I think both of those are great. But yeah, it's going to be tough. Going to be tough going forward. Because I think it's the biggest thing is the oh, just responding to someone. Okay, I got you. I think the biggest thing going forward is going to be the halftime adjustments with Dorsey because no one's really talking about it very much. I called Paul and talked to him about it for a little bit. It's going to be a big deal. It's going to be a big deal. Those offensive adjustments that you have, Josh is trying to force the ball to Stephon a little too much, and it's going to be very, very difficult for him. So, don't blame the defense, blame the trash offense. I'm talking about the offense, Jermaine. Jermaine, are you a Dolphins fan? Why did you go? Isn't TD broadcasting right now? Interesting. We'll be drafting a safety in first or second round this year. Davis Bryant, that may not be too far off. That really might not be too far off. Buffalo Bills drafting a safety could happen. Especially if Frazier gets a head coaching job somewhere else. They might want to have somebody in the back end. But you got to think of it this way. Next year, realistically, they're going to have 2 starting first-round corners. So if I'm drafting anybody in the first round next year, it's going to be an interior offensive lineman. Just saying. Josh Allen showed Ronald. There we go. If you guys saw near the end of the game, the one pass where the ball got knocked away from Josh Allen, if you've never been a quarterback, you've never tried to throw something really, really hard with someone stopping your arm, and that one part in here, Paul sent me a text message, and I just want to show you guys this because this is very, very upsetting. He said, Allen may have torn his UCL on that. That's Tommy John, and his season is over if that's true. Now, that's the worst case scenario, but if you would have seen the replay, Paul is very, very accurate when it comes to those things. So if he tore his UCL on that, it is Tommy John surgery and he's done. I hope that's not the case, but as hard as that dude throws and the force that was coming against him when he tried to throw there, it's not really his shoulder, it's his elbow. It's not good. It's not good. So I am holding out for the best. I didn't see any post game or any injury report after that, but I have been on the receiving end of one of those when I've tried to throw a ball. Now, obviously, I don't throw as hard as Josh Allen, but I've tried to throw a football, and with a defender coming in at you, just knocks your arm. It really messes with your shoulder and your elbow at the same time, and it hurts like hell. I luckily did not tear anything, but it still hurts like hell. All right, here we go. Stephon coming in. Allen is not the problem. He's an emotional player. That's why he's great when we're up, but he gets extremely frustrated and stops trusting anyone else but himself when he gets no help. You know what? I don't know if, like I said, I don't know if that's he doesn't trust anybody. Maybe it's the guy calling the plays upstairs that he doesn't trust. Now, I know I've been talking about Dorsey every once in a while here and there, but this offense adjusting after the half hasn't been very, very good. No, they haven't, especially in the past 2 games. Now, you guys tell me this. Is it you think it's something on the play calling, or do you think Allen's just pushing too much? I'm interested to see what the chat has to say on this one. Do you think Allen is pushing too much, or do you think it's the offensive play calling going on right now? Either or is fine. I mean, you guys could think either one, but I'm very interested to hear what the chat has to say on this one. So, I know a lot of people are really bad, like really hammering on Teron Johnson on Twitter right now. Dawkins is consistent as usual in his timely holding call. Good for at least one. I don't even know if he has one per game. I think the QB wide receiver are not on the same page of routes. Yeah, this is an offense that's heavily predicated on route adjustments. So, Steve, you might not be too far off there. That's a heck of an observation. Yeah, it seems like the only one he has a lot of comfort with is Diggs. So that being said, if that's the only guy he has comfort with, if he gets in trouble, that's the guy he's going to look for. MP comes in. I think it's both. Allen trying for the big play too often and not taking care of the ball exacerbates it. Yeah, 100%. I'm with you on that one, MP. I think he's trying to do a little bit of hero ball. Stefan, how dare you? Says I miss Cole Beasley. Recently deleted Twitter Cole Beasley. I think this is the most underrated comment of the night. The weight of Allen's mustache affected his throws. There could have been something in the space-time continuum that really affected his throws. I'm not ruling that out, Caracas. I'm not ruling that out. Okay, if the combo routes are too complicated, then we need to run more plays without combo. Yeah, I understand that. You start. That's where you start to develop tendencies, though. And I don't know if that's something that Dorsey wants in his first year of being a play caller, because that's how you quickly not become a play caller, is that you develop those tendencies and you end up getting a book on you that people can can get you, and you won't last very long as a play caller in the NFL if that happens. I just think, if it was up to me, Naeem Hines, we got to see what he does. Obviously, you still have Singletary for the rest of the year. You have Naeem Hines for 2 more years, and you have James Cook. So that's your backfield. You got a lot of speed and a lot of, you got a lot of versatility back there, number one. All right. Then what you have is you have a group of receivers. Shakir is a rookie. Diggs is phenomenal. Davis is touch and go. I mean, he sometimes drops passes in here that they're very, very easy, and he makes like these really, really difficult catches. And I don't understand that. So the inconsistency there is starting to bother me. McKenzie hasn't shown to be too consistent recently either. So then, after Diggs, though, you look at the rest of the receiving core, it's like, who does Allen have to trust when it comes to that? Hines had that one play on offense that he burned the defender, would have had an easy TD with an accurate pass. That's a tough throw to make. Wheel routes with running backs up the sideline are tough to make, and I think Allen was getting flushed out of the pocket on that one. So I think that was a very, very difficult one on that. All my life watching football, I might have seen a kickoff out of bounds 3 times in a row. Bass has 2 this year. Yeah, kicking the ball out of bounds. Like, what are we doing? What are the Bills doing? Kicking the ball out of bounds. I don't understand. It just seems like a lack of focus and a lack of discipline on the team, which is something that's not a hallmark of a McDermott-led team. So I'm like, what is really going on with the Buffalo Bills? Did they go into games that they think they're going to win easily, and they just try to say, okay, we're going to mail this one in? No, that's not how it works. Any given Sunday. Now, I want the chat. Chat, you got to talk to me on this one. Talk me off the ledge on this one. Have the Buffalo Bills been so concerned with defeating the Kansas City Chiefs, which have been the powerhouse of the AFC, that they forgot that they have to also defend the run? Is this defense built in such a way to only defend the pass that they forget that there are some teams that still actually like to run the damn ball? Now, Stefan says yes immediately out of the gates. It's tough because they did very well against Henry. But then again, they had their full gambit of players on that game. But I really think that this defense, you got a good point, Paul. They've gotten better, but I think that this defense has been so tailored and built toward defeating the Kansas City Chiefs, which is, I mean, let's be honest. If you're going to go to the Super Bowl, you're going to have to go through the Chiefs. I know some Dolphins fans might be angry about that. That's okay. Some Baltimore Ravens fans might be upset about that. That's okay. But truth be told, Tennessee Titans fans might be even pissed off about that. However, to go to the Super Bowl, more than likely you're going to have to go through the Kansas City Chiefs at some point, and you have to have your defense built to take them out. Now up until that point, the Buffalo Bills offense had been clicking. However, there are now prior to today, there were 7 games of Ken Dorsey, offensive play calls, situational football, all of that stuff. You had all that. That being said, he has tendencies now that he likes to do. So what is he going to do to adjust to get out of those tendencies? I'm very, very interested to see what he does to get out of those tendencies. If Allen wasn't Allen, Milano is easily our best player on the team, not just defense. He is. He's a phenomenal player. And that's the thing you're going to start seeing in the NFL, guys. You start to see it already. You're starting to see these guys that are strong safeties in college come down and they're playing outside linebackers now because the pass is so prevalent in the NFL right now. No one really runs the ball that much anymore. And that's what you're going to see. Joe, are you coming in here, dude? I don't know. Or you want to come on for a little bit? It's up to you, brother. Joe just hopped in the he's backstage. He's doing his makeup and hair. And I know. Thanks, John. Appreciate it, buddy. When you see defensive tackles using spin move 12 times a game, they aren't thinking around. That is a good point, Steve. That is an excellent point. Hey, here we go. Stefan, phenomenal. Celebrates 31 months of membership. I think the problem is I think we can replace play recognition players with the reserve players, and there's no one directing defense. Yeah, it was tough. You saw a lot of miscommunication on that defense today, which here's the thing. I don't know if you guys caught this in the pregame. I thought it was very interesting. Boomer Esiason goes, Matt Milano is probably out for today. He is the signal caller for that defense. Have I been misled into thinking that Tremaine Edmonds is the signal caller? Joe, you good?
Hey! Sorry if you hear my kids in the background. There.
Earphones on now.
Yeah, I know.
I wasn't talking to anybody. Talking to myself.
It's good to be here, even though it's under terrible circumstances, But
yeah, they're good for a couple of. I think I saw someone on Twitter tweet out, this has all the feel and vibe of the Jacksonville game.
Yeah.
From last year, and it's fine. I'm all right with the Bills losing if they get beat.
Mm-hmm.
However, I mean they got outworked today. That's number one. They didn't deserve to win this game. They tried to mail this one in. But now you have two. Let's talk about the technical aspect of this, Joe. 0-2 in the division, 4-2 in the conference.
Yep.
The New York Jets, think about this for the Jets. They won today.
Yep.
Against their division leader and dropped in the AFC East. Can you believe that?
Mm-hmm.
Because both of them and Miami are 2-1 in the division. So then it goes to conference record. Miami's 4-2. The Jets are 5-3 in the conference. So they actually dropped winning today. Can you believe that? Right. I'd be pissed if I was a Jets fan right now.
Well, I mean, the good news for Buffalo is, I mean, I know it's early or midway. Like, we still control our own destiny, right? Like, we still control everything. We still can be the number 1 seed.
Yes.
I said it before the game started, and I meant it, and I mean it now. Today was a must-win game if the Bills wanted the number 1 seed.
Absolutely.
And they do still control their own destiny, but there are still some tough games on the schedule. And the Josh Allen, there's been no point of Josh Allen's career where I've looked at them and said, yes, they can win 8 straight regular season games, including games against Cincinnati, in Cincinnati Monday Night Football, against Minnesota. Like you said, we're 0-2 against the division. We still have 4 division games against all 4 of those games are going to be against teams currently who are above 500, right? So that's a lot of tough matchups coming up.
There are some tough. They got to run a little bit of a gauntlet as far as the AFC East is concerned and overall. But it's you look at it in this respect. You can't lose your divisional games like this and give the teams that you're going to be playing against that much ammunition when you have to play up against them again. Now, obviously, the Buffalo Bills are at an advantage that over the next 4 games, I think 3 out of the 4 of them are home.
Yes.
So they're divisional games that you're going to play 3 out of the 4 are home. So they got a little bit of an advantage there.
Yep.
But Miguel C comes in with this question. I want to get your take on it, Joe. Thoughts on the last game incomplete? Was that pass interference? Do you think that was pass on Sauce?
Well, if you were following the stream, when I was doing the stream, I said that first off. At first I said, boom. Spin actually brought up a good point that I didn't look back and see yet, but you could be right. Gabe initiated contact. Not only did Gabe initiate contact potentially, there were very few flags in this game. Very few. I think 6 total flags in this game, accepted penalties at least. 3 on the Bills, 3 on the Jets. So I don't want to get bailed out by a penalty at the end of a game on 3rd or 4th and 20, whatever it was. Like, that's not the game I want to play. The Bills put themselves in a bad spot, and I'm not going to say, oh, look at the refs bailing us out. Good for us. Whether it was pass interference or not, if you watch what the wide receivers and cornerbacks were doing the whole game, they were probably doing a lot of that stuff, that going back and forth. It wasn't enough in my mind. It would have been really rough to sell that call if they throw that flag in that situation.
Yeah. I mean, because by that point in the game, it's the last part of the game. Now, if you guys didn't know, Joe's a ref. If you guys didn't know that by now. So, I mean, I take his feedback very seriously when it comes to officiating and stuff like that. Your crew, let me ask you this personally, Joe. Your crew sets the tone for the game and what's going to be called and what's not going to be called, what's going to be allowed and what's not. If the entire game you're letting those guys play and jockey back and forth and push off a little bit and all this other stuff, and you call it there, you can't do that. You got to be at least a little bit consistent, right?
Right. Now, what would happen, and this does not happen in high school except for only 1 day a week does this happen in high school. The whole week, what you'd be hearing from the head official, if you're that crew, is they'd be showing you film saying, why was this not penalty and this one was this, and they'd be going back and saying, it's kind of like what I say about baseball in the strike zone, right? If they're not going to have an electronic strike zone, what's a strike at the beginning of the game needs to be a strike at the end of the game. Same thing in football. If it's a hold at the beginning, it should be a hold at the end. If it's not a hold at the beginning, it can't be hold at the end. You look at that, and that's why, like, he did a little face guarding, but we did see who was it from the Buffalo Bills? I think it was Benford earlier in the game was face guarding a player in the end zone of the Jets, and he didn't get called for a penalty. I talked about that in the stream. I saw the play and I said, okay, he wasn't called, but that looked like there was a little bit of contact, face guarding, but face guarding in itself is not a penalty. It's when there's contact after the face guarding that you start saying it's a penalty. But as Spin brought out in the podcast, in the live stream I did, if Gabe Davis initiated the first contact, then you can't call pass interference there. And if you haven't called it all game, you're not called there. And the ball still went through his hands. The ball still was right there. It's not like he was holding hand back, stopping him from trying to catch the ball. He could have caught the ball.
That was a heck of a throw. But I mean, honestly,
one time.
I know, right?
one time.
At that point, I'm sitting there. I'm going. I had relegated myself watching the game, and I was like, you know what? They don't. I don't want to. I don't even want a flag on that.
Right.
I was literally sitting there, don't throw a flag.
Right.
Don't throw, because they're in field goal range. He threw that from his 10 to the opposite 20 guys, just to give you guys a reference.
Which makes you feel better about his elbow, because I was really concerned about his elbow after that.
Yeah. What I'm saying is, I think the adrenaline, once the adrenaline wears off, I don't know if his elbow is going to be good. I talked about it a little bit. Paul told me if he tore his UCL, that's Tommy John surgery, and that's no bueno for a quarterback. But I think the good thing to come out of this game, that I'm going to take out of this game, is that, number one, Josh, you can't run away from everybody. Today proved it, that you're not going to just be able to run away from everybody. Here's a guy that ran 9 times for 84 yards or 86 yards and 2 touchdowns, and he had a shit game. Right. Let's be honest. He had a shit game today. Very, very few guys aside from him stepped up on the offensive side of the ball. The play calling I would have done a little bit differently, but then again, you talk about Salah on the other side. He's not a slouch. This guy is a defensive guy.
And that 30-yard touchdown by Allen, that was all play calling. Like, that was a beautiful play call. It was one call. Let's not take out a portion of a full game. But when as soon like Mitch Morse was running and he was like, I got no one to block. What am I doing over here? Like, it was just a great play call.
it was the script. Like,
Mhm.
I will say this, over the past 3 weeks, that's something that's been concerning me more so in Green Bay and today. The
Yep.
script has been good. Bills have been getting out to a big lead, getting big chunks of yardage. That play to Diggs,
Yeah, the first
just to
time.
try to burn sauce, and then you're up 14-3.
Yep.
Why? Now, either they adjusted to you and you couldn't do anything after that,
Mhm.
or you just ran out of gas and you were like, oh, we're gonna roll this team. No, you were not. This team was. Let's just put it this way: after 8 games last year, the New York Jets gave up 32 points a game last year
Yeah.
in their first 8 games. They've given up 19 this year.
Yeah.
So they've turned their defense around, significantly. So I went on a New York Jets stream this past week, and I was talking with Ryan. You know Ryan, the Jets talk 24/7. I was like, Ryan, this is not. If the Buffalo Bills think this is going to be a walkthrough, they're going to be in for a rude awakening. And I said the Jets will win this game if the Buffalo Bills do not play well. Like, it's not just a walkthrough. And look what happened: 20-17. So.
Now I do, and you pointed this out a little bit earlier too. Like, let's not all be doom and gloom here. I mean, again, we still own the division lead. We have beaten every single division leader in our conference. So we have tiebreakers against every single one of them.
Very true.
I would hope that losing to Miami, because someone at the end of the live stream I was doing said, hopefully this is a wake up call for the Bills. And I'm like, I hate thinking that way, because last year losing to the Steelers and Jaguars should have been a wake up call for you. This year losing to Miami should have been a wake up call for you. Like, you shouldn't need wake up calls every 4 weeks. You shouldn't. Like, that's just not how it works. So I don't know. Again, I mean, just did not execute when it mattered the most. And we got, you talked a lot about Milano. I had to leave the stream for a little bit. The person I think we missed a lot was Spencer Brown on the offensive line. Right?
Yeah, Quisenberry seemed like he was struggling at the right tackle. I didn't get to the offense yet. I mean, I was talking about the defense most of the time. I was saying, listen, I mean, out of 61 plays, Hamlin and Johnson, the two safeties, had 22 tackles, while your linebackers had 17 tackles. Like, just taking that quick maths like that, you're just looking at it going, Teron Johnson took some horrible angles, which means he should have had more tackles. What's your second level doing?
Right.
Like, I don't know what's going on there.
Right.
So I think, Jordan Poyer, the Buffalo Bills missed Jordan Poyer, but I didn't see any Poyer tweets after the game.
Right.
What I saw was Matt Milano.
Right.
And how opportunistic that Jordan Poyer leaves a game, or he didn't play Miami.
Yep.
When they have the 2 biggest deep threats in the league.
Yep.
And then he doesn't play today when Milano is also out.
Yep.
Like, and he's just going to make it about himself and say, I wasn't there. Look what happens, guys. We lose divisional games. Why aren't you suited up for the divisional game, sir? Come on.
Yeah. I have nothing to say about Poyer at this point right now. And him being out might be a coach's decision. I don't know. It's annoying, but you also have to think about at the beginning of the season, he didn't get a contract extension, but they reworked his contract with incentives. What were those incentives? Because
we've never been told. We've never been told what those are, because maybe they're not likely to be earned incentives, which is why he's a little upset about it. I mean, in all likelihood, Poyer's not here next year. And I do apologize for Hashtag Nation for saying that, but the reality of the situation is you got Poyer, you got Edmonds, you got Oliver, you got all these other guys you got to sign. So maybe if you want Singletary, I don't know. That's a very small crowd, I know, because you got Hines and you got Hines and Cook now. You know what I mean? So that being said, I don't know if you're going to want Singletary, but the bottom line is this: Poyer will probably be in Miami next year. I'm just going to put it out there. Sorry to upset everybody, but that's the reality of the situation. So, all right, Joe, I get one more thing. Carter and Robinson combined 25 carries, 124 yards, and a touchdown.
Yep.
Josh Allen, over the last 2 games, let me give you some numbers, Joe. 31 for 59 for 423 yards, 2 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, 52.5% completion percentage. They're 1-1 and with a chance to win this game.
Yeah.
Him playing so poorly.
Yeah.
And they still had a chance to win the game.
Right.
What does this say for the future of the season?
I think it. Well, go ahead.
No, I
Okay.
thought I misspoke, but I was saying
No,
the
no.
rest of the season. What does this say? Is it that people are catching up to Dorsey, or are they catching up to Allen?
Would you rather Aaron Rodgers?
No.
Would you rather Tom Brady? Like I mean, I look at this from two different aspects. Yeah, he had he had two really bad games for Josh Allen, right? But look around the league right now, guys. Like he's still one of the best. Like I said, he still is probably front runner for MVP.
Yeah.
I think that I still think that Allen is quick to lose confidence in his other receivers other than Stephon Diggs, right? We saw Gabe Davis with a drop in today's game. We saw Dawson Knox with a drop. I thought Singletary actually played pretty well out of the backfield. They're still not integrating James Cook as much as I'd like, but also Hines will be fully integrated in the offense next week. I saw a lot of comments about why is Hines not in there. He's been here for 5 days, guys. Like let's let him get acclimated a little bit to the offense before we just throw him in there for 70% of the snaps. But yeah, I think that Bills fans still need to be confident in what we have. We have seen MVP caliber quarterbacks have 2-3 game slumps where they're just bad, and they just look bad, and it happens. It's this in the NFL. I just watched a Josh Allen post-game press conference where I did not see anything on his elbow, so that made me happy. But he also, it's hard to win in this league. It is, and every time you think you have it mastered, something comes at you. Yeah, it's a chess match, right? So let's say people are catching up to Ken Dorsey. Okay, well, what does Ken Dorsey do now to combat that? Because we know Leslie Frazier has a good enough pedigree where we could say he's going to adjust things. Well, I'm not worried about that. Not worried about defense at all. He's going to adjust. So now it's what can Ken Dorsey do to adjust things? We saw Brian Dable, whether you liked him or hated him, a few years like today, I was expecting some more jet sweeps from McKenzie, and we only saw the one, right? And I was like, why are we not seeing more out of him?
I think he also telegraphed that throw to Hines. Like Hines was lined up inside and ran a wheel route. You know what I mean?
He absolutely did. And it was a badly thrown ball anyway. And Hines dove for no reason, just because he wanted to. But yeah, I just I don't know. I just feel like now it's like David would throw some trick plays in there, spice things up a little bit.
Yeah.
John Brown had a couple of touchdown passes, like just different things. And so now Ken Dorsey has to figure that out. What works well. What can we adjust? Like you said, at the beginning of this game, we were up 14-3 because of the game plan, because, that was what the script said. And, we worked out great. But what does he do at halftime now? Because whatever he's doing at halftime, whether that's 2 games, isn't working.
Yeah, I think the thing that gets me is that the Buffalo Bills teams will allow you to hand the ball off, because if they're handing the ball off, then Josh Allen doesn't have it in his hands. Right. That's the most dangerous man on the field. I don't care where, like you said, he's been playing like dog water the last 2 games. I understand that. But he is still the most dangerous man on the field with the ball in his hands. And I don't know what's going on with him in the last couple of weeks. But just looking at it, teams are going to concede the run and the short intermediate routes to you all day. Are you patient enough to take those routes and not have those really huge explosive plays to Gabe Davis down the field? Sometimes that can lull you to sleep. You can't rely on those deep plays being the number one go-getter for your offense. You know what I mean? So,
and maybe that describes a little bit of Gabe Davis's struggles, right? Like Gabe Davis wants to be that burner, and he's not patient enough. And so, he's still a young wide receiver. So maybe this is the time with Josh Allen and others, and you'd be like, 10 yards is fine. 4 yards is, I always say in my streams when we run 4 yards, 4 + 4 + 4 equals a first down. So I'll take 4 yards all the day. But yeah, I don't know. But
I got to put this on, Joe, because I'm thinking you're gonna buy a Tyrell Dodson jersey after I put this up. So I just got to show you and show the hashtag nation. Jonathan Feliciano tweeted out the real New York, and then Tyrell Dodson quote tweeted it and said, "Get it out of your mouth, Feliciano." I know we're a family show, but that's hysterical. I don't care
great.
who you are.
It's
and then
great.
like there was like a couple tweets in there, people saying,
Sure.
"Yeah, I'm gonna ordering my Tyrell Dodson jersey now."
Yeah.
So
yeah. Who should have been on the field a lot more in this game, in my opinion, as well.
I really think so too. Like Bernard, he didn't do bad, but he didn't do good either. Like
right.
it's a lack of communication out there, and it wasn't good. It wasn't.
And
good.
People are asking why we play in nickel. I think you touched on this at the beginning. Leslie Frazier's hands were kind of tied. Like you're missing one of your star linebackers. You're missing both starting safeties from the beginning of the season. We saw this against the Dolphins, I think it was, or what. There was a game where he just didn't blitz at all, and we were all like, "Why blitzing?" Well, because you have players, you have schemes where Dean Marlowe, even though he has some familiarity with the system, just got here this week. You look at the linebackers; they're not Milano. Do you trust these linebackers in coverage? Obviously not. Obviously you can't because they didn't blitz, and you still can't trust them in coverage today. So I feel like there just wasn't much he could do as far. Yeah, he knows, and if we're a fully healthy defense whatever week we play, Jets in week 13, whatever it is, 15.
Yeah.
Are we going to see a lot more blitzes on Zach Wilson? Probably, and he's going to look hopefully just as bad as he has all season against the blitz.
That's the thing. They ran for 170. Wilson threw for $154. It wasn't like he had a huge game.
Right.
One touchdown, 154 yards. Some guys have that in a half. So it's like, okay, he made plays when he had to make plays. He didn't put the ball in harm's way. He wasn't.
Right.
I mean, he obviously had that strip sack, but by and large, he wasn't at. He was asked to win the game today. He was asked not to lose it.
Right. He also had the interception that wasn't called an interception, which would have changed the complete complexion.
Oh, the
of
Edmonds one. Yeah.
First drive of the second half. But it's not like we didn't have time to come back from that. Like it wasn't
absolutely.
like that. I'm not saying that at all. But that was definitely an Edmonds interception that the fact I was screaming at the time, McDermott needs to throw a challenge flag. The fact he didn't just baffles me.
Well, they got up and they ran a hurry up. That was the problem. That was the problem on that one. So, Joe, really quick, your thoughts going into next week as the Buffalo Bills playing the Vikings next week.
Play Vikings, another division leader, so I expect the Bills to come out ready to play.
I mean, if there was a game they could have lost, I would rather them beat the Jets and lose to the Vikings.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But what do you expect early on to go for next week?
Well, early thoughts are I would take the over, no matter what it really is. I would take the over. I think both these offenses, like there's going to come a time where Josh Allen gets out of this funk. And I'm hoping that's this week. But with the hurt shoulder or elbow, how much practice time is he getting in this week? Like that has to be a concern. Because he has that connection with Diggs. He has that connection with Gabe Davis already. But again, Hines has only been there 5 days. That could be a big part of next week's matchup.
Yeah, definitely could be.
That could be a big part of next week's matchup. Gonna be very interesting. Obviously, we need to check on the stats of Milano and Poyer because we know what the Vikings have on offense, and it's explosive. Glad to see that Elam wasn't seriously hurt and he was back in this game. Dane Jackson, I believe, came back after his injury because he was down for a little bit. So glad to see him back. But
Groot too.
Groot. Yeah. So there are a few injuries in today's game, but I think for the most part, everyone came back into the game at some point. So that makes me feel good about that. But really want to see Poyer back next week. Really want to see Milano back next week as well. And as long as we see those two guys back, and who knows, maybe a special guest appearance from Trey White. I think. Well,
I can guarantee you that if Trey and Milano are back, Poyer will be back because he has protection then.
But I expect to see a high-scoring game. I expect these two teams not to disappoint, but the Bills will do what they've done against division leaders all season long and get that W. And we'll be like, why can't you do this against the Jets?
That'd be so great. Yeah, I think the Buffalo Bills will bounce back. I think, Cook can be a problem. Cook is not our Cook, their Cook. Cook could probably be a problem for them if they're patient enough to run the ball.
Well, what James Cook needs to do is take his brother or whoever cousin out for dinner the night before, stay up to like 3 a.m. Yep, exactly. Stay up to 2, 3 a.m. and then be like, you know what? Start play Singletary and Hines. I'm out today. It's fine, and that will be the biggest help for the Bills. He get to Andrew anyway. Both Cooks out. They're both inactive.
So. Yeah, exactly. Get both Cooks out. We'll definitely win on that one. So for Hashtag Nation, obviously tonight's episode of the Hashtag Sports presentation of the Buffalo Bills versus the New York Jets postgame was sponsored by Mr. Rogers Homes in affiliation with DeanBlundell.com. All of our socials, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook can be found in our description, as well as the links to our iTunes and Spotify. Joe was on the call today, as he is every week, knocking it down, holding it down, whatever kind of down it is, down in distance. He's got all that stuff covered. So, Joe, want to thank you very much, and thank you for hopping in with us. Guys, the Bills didn't win, so we don't roast. So enjoy your Bills Monday, and get ready for the Minnesota Vikings this week. For Joe, I am Mario. This is Hashtag Sports. Thanks for joining us, guys. We're out of here.
Hello, fellow Bills fans. Sean Rogers, Realtor and lead of the Mr. Rogers Homes team. Did you know that real estate is one of the best ways to build wealth, and right now is one of the best times to own an investment property in Arizona? Please reach out to me. I'd be more than happy to answer any of your questions so we can take the next step to your financial freedom here in the Valley of the Sun, utilizing real estate. As always, God bless America, and go Buffalo!